the next Olympics, of course, are becoming enormously politically heated in Beijing this coming winter. And of course, when Beijing first hosted the Olympics, this was a milestone. This kind of was them coming out on the global stage. Today, China's position is very different. How do you think China's going to handle these games at this point? I mean, I know they haven't even made an announcement about whether or not they're going to have fans. Where do you think that's going to go?
Well, I think like everyone, China's sort of waiting to see how the pandemic plays out. And I think they would certainly like to have fans. But in a country the size of China, you've got to be careful that a pandemic does not really take hold. So they'll be watching that pretty carefully, and I hope that there will be fans. It looks like there will be certainly some political agitation around the edges from the rest of the world. I think it's pretty clear that there's no appetite to prevent athletes from going and participating. The issue is how are governments going to express their disapproval of a number of Chinese government policies. And, governments have their ways of sending signals. And I mean, for example, you could make sure that if we're talking about the United States, that no U.S. government official accepts any invitation to go there during the games.
And the Chinese government could preempt that if they just said, we'll let Chinese fans, but we're not going to bring in international community. And then there's no call for diplomatic boycott. And they say it's because of COVID, but in reality, it saves everybody the embarrassment of having to make a tough decision about whether or not any of your leaders are going to show up.
Well, normally the political leaders are invited by the host country, by the government of the host country. They're not Olympic guests, and so if China chose not to invite anyone, that would be its decision. It would save probably a lot of angst on the part of the other governments. Although, if they're excluded, that's probably a cause for complaint. I think there's no win-win here for either side.
And Canada, of course, is in the middle of this. On the one hand, Canada hits way above its weight in terms of its importance in the Winter Olympics, the role of its athletes. On the other hand, we have this extremely painful diplomatic problem with the two Michaels who are being held illegally, and now for quite some time by the Chinese government.
It's been over 2 years since Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig were arbitrarily detained in China following the arrest of Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou. They sit in Chinese prisons as she remains under house arrest in Vancouver, awaiting an extradition ruling.
What do you think the Canadian response should be, assuming that this situation persists?
Well, my guess is that Canada would be very reluctant to send any government officials in the circumstances. I mean, I think they know this is a tit for tat. But I don't think the Canadian government will go so far as to say, in effect, to China, we're so angry with your abrogation of the civil rights of segments of your society that we are going to show how mad we are by taking away all the civil rights of our athletes and preventing them from participating. We tried that in Moscow. It didn't work, and everyone knows that it doesn't work. There will be no conduct change as a result of an Olympic boycott. So my guess is that our athletes will go and our officials probably will not go.